everybody. It's been a while since I have posted about my divorce journey, and we have hit and gone past the year mark since I left the farm where I had been living with a partner of almost 9 years. And I wanted to check in and just let you know how that process is going, how that healing process is going. The last time that I made a video about this was February, right before I moved out of a communal house where I was living. It was such a great, supportive place for me to be. And then it became clear that it was time for me to step into whatever the next chapter is and start to do the next layer. And so, of course, a few weeks into being here, the COVID crisis hit. The two women I was supposed to live with here ended up not being here for various reasons, and so I've been alone in quarantine here, and not totally alone because I've been working my ass off on my online meditation and yoga community, and staying very busy and connected there. But without that support of living in the communal space, it's meant that I really had to deeply sit with and sit in my stuff. As I'm sure everyone can relate to in some way or another, this experience of being isolated like this has made me really aware of what I don't have and what I do have. It can be really easy at this time to compare, and it can be easy to regret, It can be easy to feel resentment for people who have partners or families right now, things that I really wanted and have been grieving. I've been grieving for a year already. And it's been really good for me, actually, though there are moments when it's really hard. It's been really good for me to have to actually go all the way through it. My teacher says, grief is how sadness leaves us. It's how we let go of it. And I've been allowing myself to go really deep into grief at times. Last week was a lot of tears. And in this big old house by myself, you can cry very loudly. But it's actually, I think it's been really good that I haven't run away. I haven't gone to distraction. And what I've been able to do is have some insights. And so the point of this video was just to share with you a couple of those insights that I've had into the nature of my relationship and really a lot of relationships that I see in our contemporary culture. There's a way that we can make a contract, we can make a deal in our relationships that's basically built to self-destruct. We could make it, and that's what I was doing. And I can see that. I can see that now. I realized for myself, okay, this is the first time I've lived alone, ever. I've always had housemates or lived in some kind of communal situation, or for most of my adult life I've had a boyfriend or a husband. And my first serious relationship started right after my dad moved out when I was in 8th grade. And I had that serious boyfriend for a long time, and that relationship ending was unbelievably devastating. And when I can look back now, I can see that I never grieved. I didn't let the grieving process happen. I didn't let the sadness, I didn't even acknowledge the sadness, let alone let it pass through me when my parents broke up. And I remember people being like, wow, you're so mature. And I was like, oh, I'm just handling this just fine. It was a coping mechanism that, ideally you would have adults around maybe who could see through or say, yeah, no, you still need to go to therapy or whatever. But that wasn't the case. And I got away with it. I got away with just being fine, and then essentially replacing that relationship with a new relationship with a boyfriend. And then when that exploded, I was just wrung out. I was devastated. And what I can see now is that I wasn't just trying to have a boyfriend at the time. I was trying to avoid the pain of the last ending that I never got over and never processed. I was trying to replace this sense. I didn't just want a lover and a friend, I kind of wanted a dad. Like, I wanted somebody who was going to be there, who was always going to be there, and who was going to be this source of strength and support and masculine qualities. I'm going to speak a little bit to that, the masculine-feminine dynamic, in a second. But even after grieving that first relationship, I didn't figure it out. I just kind of kept replacing. And so what I've been thinking about is this. You think about the yin-yang symbol. It means that the things that seem to be opposite, black and white, masculine and feminine, softness and agency. There's so many. Compassion and clarity or wisdom. There are all these seeming opposites. Pain and pleasure. Success and failure. There's so many opposites that actually go together. They're actually two parts of one whole. And I see how in this culture, I was brought up as a little girl. All of my models for whole women, or women who had a full life, they all had male partners with them. Little boys are also taught this certain thing, that there are certain things that they're not supposed to do, that a woman is supposed to do that for you. And so, I was finding these male partners who were a perfect match in that they also felt disconnected, the way I felt disconnected from the masculine, but so needing of it. They felt disconnected from the feminine, or for some of these qualities that they could see in me. But what happens if we don't feel that innate wholeness, if we don't realize that these two are already always together, and we try to outsource it, something that we know that we actually rely on to live, to be whole, then we end up in these relationships like I was in that were codependent, you could call them, not two autonomous individuals consciously entering into contract. It's two beholden individuals looking for somebody to make them whole. And so that ends up making both partners feel kind of enslaved, not free, dependent. There's fear that the other being will go away and abandon, and then we'll be left just partial again. There's a fear that we'll be replaced, that somebody else will lock into that role. And so I can see now that as much as we would say to each other, I really want you to get your shit together. Like he held up a lot of the finances and all this stuff, and he was frustrated with me that I never really made it financially in my career. And I kept wanting him to do his self-work and wanting him to wake up his empathy and compassion and this emotional aspect of life and the spiritual aspect of life. But at the same time, I kept doing that work for both of us. And at the same time, he kept doing that financial piece for both of us. And in a sense, we couldn't help it because we were so... We wanted the other person whole, but actually we didn't. Because the fear made us really want that other person to stay sort of chained to us. And human nature will always want to be free, as it should. And human nature, we will always want to be seen as whole, as we should. But in that kind of relationship, we could not do it. And then we ended up dividing the masculine and the feminine and pitting them against each other and making them at war. And I was always trying to prove to him the value of what I brought, and he was always trying to prove to me the value of what he brought. And by the time we went to couples therapy, it was too late. I had to walk away from my own self-care. I had given away too much of that emotional resource outside of myself, and I had to protect it for myself. I felt a lot of anger, and I realized that I had to feel that anger because that anger protected me like a mama bear. No, she needs her space, right? She needs to find herself. She needs to be able to discover this within herself. And so I had to say no, both to the perspective that I wasn't okay and that I wasn't whole and that I wasn't good. I also had to say no to the help in a certain way so that I could find that within myself, which is what I've been working on. If you are in a relationship where some of these patterns are coming up, there's hope. It doesn't have to end the way that it did with us. But what I'll say is, get outside help immediately. Don't wait. Don't wait until it's too late. By the time we got there, he was finally ready to do his emotional work, and when it started to come up, it was too much for me. I was too depleted to hold space for his shadow when it finally came out. And I was too bereft of self-compassion to have any left for him by the time he shared with me all of the reasons why he had been so cut off from that love. And he was sick of supporting me financially by the time I was getting my stuff together and really making an effort. And so by the time we split, it's like he took his resources and went one way, and I took mine and went one way, and we left each other feeling really bereft. Well, I don't know how he felt, but I did. And I can only imagine he did too. And so we were not in touch, so I really don't know. But it doesn't have to get there. Get the help that you need. I'll share with you a quote from my teacher. The true guru will never estrange you from yourself. He will always turn you back to your inherent perfection and ask you to look within. So I also say, like, when you really love someone, help them see their inherent wholeness. Help them see whatever it is that they want so much from you. Help them see that they have some aspect of that in themselves. And yeah, that's brave, right? That means that they might get whole and not need you in the same way. But here's the deal. People who feel broken and unwhole are not really safe, healthy, full partners. They're not actually engaged. They're engaged in the relationship the way that a drug addict is engaged in their relationship. And I know that's an extreme example, but codependency, it is kind of like this. And somebody who's broken, I know myself, when I feel broken, I'm not a really safe person to hold space for you. You know, when I'm in despair, I'm not as trustworthy, actually. When you can trust me most is when I'm sitting in my strength, in my wholeness. And so we don't, as much as we think we want people to be dependent on us, it might feed our ego for a little bit. It might validate us in a shallow way. It's not actually what we want in our relationships. We have to be able to hold each other up, to shine the mirror back and show each other's value. We have to be able to see the parts of ourselves that aren't whole and do that work and ask for the help to get us there. And that's just what I want for myself and for everyone, is for us to be able to acknowledge and celebrate our inherent wholeness. I really, really, really believe that we are good and whole, even though there were many times last week when I really forgot it about myself. I was really outside of that truth. But when I return to it, I know it's right, and I know I can stand here and work from this place, and I know that I am healing. I know this journey it's happening. Because I don't feel as angry anymore. I still feel sad for the whole world. For every little girl who learns that she's going to have to yoke herself to a male companion in order to get by in this patriarchal world, I feel so sad for every little boy who's told that he's not allowed to cry or have difficult emotions. That makes him weak and not masculine. I'm so sad for every being who thinks that we are inherently broken and at war and at odds. That war lives inside every single one of us who has been taught that. And I so want us to feel peace. Let me know if I can be a resource for you. Thanks for listening.